After countless deaths, more than 50 hours in the game, and completing all of the side quests, all I can say is thank you Sucker Punch for making samurai games great again. I can confidently say that my long-term endless void to play a good samurai game that was lingering here and there has been filled to the brim.
Nephew of Lord Shimura. I have come to avenge his honor.
Now I'm not saying that Ghost of Tsushima is the best game of 2020, except that it is, but as soon as I got into the game, I felt some kind of rush to play it. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was how the game started, or maybe it was just the environment that was appealing to me. Or who knows, maybe it was just the fact that there was a mode called Kurosawa, which let me fully experience the game in a black and white filter with Japanese voice and English subtitles, inspired by the movies of the legendary filmmaker Akira Kurosawa at the beginning of the game, which led me to actually think that Sucker Punch is not messing around with this title. I'm going to be totally honest with you people. I was not expecting the way Sucker Punch chose to start the game. I thought it would be kind of like Sekiro, where you just sneak past some enemies, stealth kill some, and get your weapon and then start the sneak adventure. Except, they immediately throw you into the heart of the blazing battlefield, where the Japanese and the Mongolians are fighting for the territory of Tsushima Island. In that exact moment, you can actually feel the heat of the battle. Riding your horse into the enemy and slashing down a few on your way to the next objective, while a whole bunch of stuff is happening in the background, that makes you feel like you might die if you take one wrong step. I could feel the impact of the projectiles launched by dozens of trebuchets hitting the ground as you run past it on your horse. The screams and cries of dying soldiers, sounds of swords clashing, arrows piercing through your flesh, all that made me a little self-aware of the surrounding and impact to it. And that's just the beginning. Sucker Punch's latest title is a stunningly gorgeous adventure set in the Tsushima Island, fictionally portraying the invasion of Japan by the Mongol Empire in 1274. From the moment you hold the controller and start your journey in the shoes of Jin Sakai, every road he travels, every word he speaks, every action he does, every consequence he faces, and every emotion that he feels will make you grasp your controller tight as you experience this big rollercoaster of a game. You witness every moment of his journey, from learning the way of a samurai as a little boy to giving up the honor that he was taught his whole life for a bigger cause.
I've never seen a samurai fight like that.
Each step he takes and the consequences that he faces for those steps greatly impact the story and helps in character development. Ghost of Tsushima revolves around this inner conflict. The character arc starts off slow at first, but it takes up a good pace and really gets going. Witnessing Jin walk the path he was taught never to step foot on is something. Although Jin doesn't give off that protagonist charisma that I was looking for, but I felt like it was justified due to the pacing of the game.
Where are they? Caged near Fort Yatate. Alright, Ryuzo. Let's see what we can do.
I wanted to play the game in Japanese voice, but it really let me down to know that the lip sync was in English and it felt really awkward watching the characters speak Japanese while they were clearly speaking English, so I ultimately had to revert to English voiceover. But what really shines in the audio department is the music. May it be a soothing flute playing in the background faintly while you explore around, or the adrenaline-filled drums that start to thunder when you clash your sword with enemies. The game perfectly captures every essence of the music, which further makes you feel invested in the game as it enhances your emotions portrayed in specific situations. Combat in Ghost of Tsushima feels like it took a lot of inspiration from Sekiro, Assassin's Creed, Onimusha, and every single Kurosawa film to ever exist, and it feels surprisingly authentic. The combat is not as deep as you would expect. It has every single action that any other game would have, like light attack, heavy attack, charge attack, dodge, block, parry, roll, and whatnot. But it also has a different flair to it, which is the stance system. You can choose between 4 stances with the press of a button, and each stance feels seamless. Every stance has its goods and bads, which makes the character play out with a little more variety. Every single encounter is fast, action-paced, and chaotic. Sometimes I even felt like I was in a Batman game, or maybe Shadow of War, surrounded by a lot of enemies of different types. Every single encounter ends in a cinematic manner where you cut down the last enemy with style. This, along with your seethe animation where Jin cleans his katana of blood in different ways, adds a different flair to the game. Not only that, the camera work is smart as well, removing every unnecessary HUD and objective titles. Keeping your character as the center of focus, the game tries to give you a close look at the action at all times. Enemies have a distinguishable sound cue to which you can react accordingly. Now, a crucial part of any single-player game is the level progression, and I'm happy to say that Ghost of Tsushima knows what kind of game it is and delivers on it. Level progression is good, as it does not stop you from progressing the story further. Of course, enemies get stronger, have different attack variations later in the game, and so on, which means you will have to upgrade your armor, weapon, and techniques to deal with them better. But the leveling of Tsushima is not like any other adventure game where a random invisible number in the code goes up and suddenly you deal more damage and take less. The game cunningly offers more tools at your disposal and frequent new abilities like parrying some attacks that you were not able to parry before. Use smoke bombs to take out a few opponents mid-battle to even the odds, which means you now have more than one way to deal with the enemy. Which is a really good take on the combat leveling, to be honest, as it does not affect the story in any way, such as locking certain zones or getting one-shot because you're low level. You can end up with every single ability and techniques in the game, or not even have half of it, and you can still play the game and enjoy it to its fullest. As there are two sides to every tale, the second side of Ghost of Tsushima's combat, which is stealth, is lackluster. The stealth is very basic. Hide in tall grass or behind stuff, lure enemies with some gimmicky noise and end them, or take a different approach and take out a couple from afar with your blow dart and bow and arrow before going in headfirst. It's a bit of a letdown, because stealth does not have the similar versatility offered by melee combat, and it doesn't push you in being a little more creative in stealth. But Sucker Punch has added a standoff feature as well, which lets you face off against the closest group of enemies and pick them one at a time for a head-on clash in a guns blazing fashion, but as a samurai. This makes going loud right out of the gate just as rewarding and advantageous as stealth kills. By the time I was in Act 3, I was picking off 5 enemies at once as the other fled in fear. It felt awesome. Now you might be thinking that's too easy, except it's not. When you trigger a standoff, you are faced off against the nearest enemy in that area in the best samurai cinematic way, and puts you in a one-on-one situation where you need to wait for the enemy to make a move and react to it with your own as you strike them down in one hit. But it's not as easy as it seems. It's kind of nerve-wracking, because if you miss it, which you will because enemies also feint their attacks, and if you fall into this bait, you are left with little to no health in the middle of very angry men with sharp things pointing at you. The landscape in Ghost of Tsushima is by far one of the best things I've seen in the genre. Although it was not quite as promising as the E3 reveal, it certainly did not let me down. From the beginning to the end of the campaign, I was more than satisfied with the sheer beauty and scale of the environments and landmarks that I visited. Galloping from one location to another filled my heart with a different kind of sensation and satisfaction. The game doesn't force you to a particular point of interest, as it removes any kind of unnecessary HUD or waypoints. Instead, it gives you subtle cues like the wind flowing in the direction of your next objective, just to give you a cinematic feel, and it is much appreciated. This adds a different kind of feel to Ghost of Tsushima. It's like as if you were watching a movie. Side quests are surprisingly not annoying, as it is different from other games because it offers variety. Although most of them are easily forgettable, some of them offer a unique experience and lead to an unexpected turn, which kept me playing side quests just for the story and not for the loot. These Tales of Tsushima offer basic chain quests, like kill someone, free someone, go somewhere, and stuff like that. Other than that, there are character-specific side quests which play out in the story. Each of the side characters that you meet have their own individual character arc, and play out great, offering some extra content tied to the main story. Some of these quests also teach you a new technique or offer something more for you to learn as a player, so it doesn't feel like a hassle. And finally, there are mythic tales. These are epic side quests that you get into by listening to a musician tell a story via an awesome animated Sumie cutscene. These mythic tales reward you with the top tier gear and abilities in the game. Each mythic tale plays out differently and has an interesting story to them. May it be the tale of a legendary guardian of Tsushima, or the thrilling tale of a samurai who would set their blade on fire. playing these mythic tales was something else. Even if you don't care about the gear, these tales offer a unique experience that is not found anywhere else in the game. Which takes me to the next point, exploration. Exploration in Ghost of Tsushima is rewarded handsomely, as you are greeted with a bunch of collectibles and side activities to do, be it taking rest in a hot spring or climbing your way up to the shrine. The game did not feel empty in any way when you were exploring on your own, which is a good thing because if you already have all the gear, there isn't much to pursue in the game other than liberating villages and doing some random activities. I also felt a kind of dissatisfaction as there was no addition of a new Game Plus mode, and playing the game all over again in a harder difficulty or Kurosawa mode with no abilities kind of felt like a drag. Also, let me talk about the photo mode. Oh, the photo mode, it has never looked better. The pure aesthetic of the game itself can be clipped frame by frame and each frame can be called a professional photoshoot. But the addition of photo mode is just the cherry on the top. It has a bunch of variety from letting you choose the background animation to the particles surrounding you, time of day, weather, music, and a lot of stuff. It is seriously one of the best things to be implemented in the game. Ghost of Tsushima is a massive open world samurai adventure game that has satisfied my hunger for an awesome samurai tale. The way the game slowly gives you new techniques and tools instead of increasing your stats feels really good. The combat remains challenging and rewarding throughout the entire playthrough of the game, although there are some areas that need more polishing, like the stealth system. But I can still say without a doubt that Ghost of Tsushima is a top-tier open-world action-adventure game of the year. And say whatever you want, this game has already won Game of the Year in my eyes.